Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Queen Power Podcast. This week's episode is going to be by me, your host, Jaiya Victoria, and I'm going to be leading you through how to trust yourself. I think that we all want to trust ourselves, right? This is something we all want to feel. We all want to feel confident. We all want to feel like we can have a sense of connection with ourselves that can cut through any situation and take us further toward where we want to go. But I feel like, especially for women, it's a little bit easier said than done in a lot of situations because we generally, again, not everybody has had the same upbringing or past lives, even, but depending on what your experiences were like in your early life, and we have grown up in a society that I don't think has necessarily encouraged women to fully trust themselves and fully own their power. What happens is you don't naturally have that skill, and that's a skill that you really need to have the life that you want to have and the success that you want to have, not just to be misled by what the world is telling you you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to want and what you're supposed to have and become. So I'm going to be telling you what's helped me to learn how to trust myself. This is something I've definitely worked really hard on without even knowing that's what I was doing, to be honest. I think at a certain point, it was like a lifeline for me. I couldn't not choose that anymore because I had seen the other option. I had gone down the road of what happens if I listen to everybody else, I do what everybody else wants me to do, and I kind of don't at all listen to what I want. And I saw just how bad that can get. So I decided, it's sort of like, it feels like a life or death situation almost. It's like, if I'm going to be the person I want to be, I have to learn how to have this really important skill of being able to not only hear my spirit, not only listen to my spirit and be willing to do that, but be willing to act on it. And that's where the word trust comes in. When you really trust yourself, you're going to do things differently based on the guidance that you're getting from within. So here's what I have to say about learning how to trust yourself. Again, we, especially as women, I know that you don't have to identify as a woman to relate to this, but I just want to shout out the women especially and call out the women especially, because I think that we have that extra layer of like, don't really put yourself out there and kind of be a nice girl, and like be a good girl. I think the good girl idea really messed a lot of us up because we felt like if we could just do what we were told, then we were going to be rewarded. That doesn't work when you get to be a full grown woman, because you need to learn how to listen to yourself. And so it's like we're very not even out of practice. It's like a lot of us have never even done that before, So we were raised in a world likely that in some way told us not to listen to our soul, not to listen to what we really wanted, what really felt right to us. And even still, I find in a lot of situations where women have been through things, there's just such a fight to be believed, even, so there's also that. It's like something happened to me, but okay, like what, my word isn't enough, that I feel like is pretty traumatizing, not only to those women, but to the women watching that. Like, wow, like she says this happened to her and people are just not taking her word for it, but the thing about your soul is that it contains, like, when it comes to your life and your purpose, it contains the blueprint of who you are, what your mission is, why you're here. Like, that's something that the world will never be able to tell you. Your parents can't tell you. Your teachers can't tell you. Your significant other can't tell you. And the thing is, a lot of people can have opinions. I'm sure you know this about who you are, what you should do, what's best for you to do. And I find a lot of those ideas are really about those people, to be honest. Like, it's some kind of need for them to be right, or need for them to be important in your life and guide you, but the truth is that your soul knows why it's here, and it contains, like I said, a blueprint of your purpose, like why you were created. And that's wonderful. That's a really good thing, because no one can ever take that away from you, no matter how misguided you get, no matter how much people convince you shouldn't trust yourself and that you're not good enough or whatever it is. That will never leave you, because that is literally encoded in your soul, and that's who you are. As long as you're alive, you're going to have access to that. People can diagnose you as mentally ill, you can be called all kinds of things, you can, all kinds of things could happen to you, but that one thing, no matter what, that will always be there, and it will never change, is the other blessing of your soul blueprint and your purpose. It will never change. It has been the same since before you came. It's the same now as when you were a baby. It will always be there. And I like to call that your true north. It's like a compass that's inside of you, so that if you go here and that's away from where you need to be, you'll feel that, you'll know, okay, this isn't the relationship, or this isn't the move, or this isn't what I want to study, or this isn't the career. Like, you'll feel literally inside of you, your compass always telling you what feels right and what doesn't. And that's such a gift. And one of the things that really helped me is a book by Martha Beck. She's a really, really funny author, and she's written a lot for Oprah Magazine. And she wrote this brilliant book that I think would really help you if you're looking for help with, especially trying to find out what career you're supposed to be in, because that's when I found this book, and it really opened my eyes to a whole new idea, which is that you can be something very specific, like your true north, your, purpose could actually be something that you didn't even conceive of before. Like, maybe you're meant to be like an underwater sea explorer, of just one certain type of species. And like, it can be so niche and so particular. And I think this is what this book opened my eyes to. Like, wow, you don't just have to be a doctor or a dentist or a lawyer. Like, you can literally have a purpose that looks different from any other human being that's ever lived. Like, your purpose can be, even if you're an entrepreneur like millions of others, you do it in this really specific way about this really specific thing. And so it's like you're constantly uncovering what, like, the blueprint is that you're supposed to bring into the world. And once you start to uncover those pieces and like put them together like a puzzle, things will make so much more sense. And I think that that freedom of thinking big is so essential when it comes to knowing your purpose, trusting yourself, because you don't know yet. Like, you just don't know what that's going to look like. Even as it unfolds, you don't know what it's going to look like. And I think that that's one of the things that really helped me the most, was to have an open mind all of a sudden about, I'm sort of on this discovery. And the first step to even taking that journey of discovery is being open, being like, I don't know, but I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out what feels right here at this time in my life. And at that time in my life, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was, doing what I was told to do, which was, get my arts degree. And, like, you just sort of do what you're told. You don't really know what you're doing. And I remember taking career tests and sort of getting little pieces maybe there of what I'm supposed to do. The other pieces always, of course, come from, what do you love to do? What really lights you up? And I think like as long as you're using all those things to inform you and knowing that, okay, the answer's already in me. I'm just gonna like kind of like get more information. You know, it's like you're really uncovering this treasure that's just sitting there inside of you. And even along your journey, like I just want to say about finding your purpose, like your purpose isn't something that it's like you're gonna check mark it and then you're done. In life, your purpose is more like it really is a journey, you know, of development. And at a certain time of your life, it's like you're going to have a certain step that you're taking. Like I remember one time I was 28 and I had graduated finally. It took me a long time to get my first degree. And I had sort of just started playing with the idea of trusting myself because at that point I really started to realize the more I listen to other people, they're not the ones living my life. And so why am I letting them make all the choices? You know, that just doesn't make sense. Like, what if I just chose for myself? It was like this radical idea for me at the time. Like, what if I just, I don't know, like did something I wanted to do? Like, what would that be like? Like, I literally didn't know what that would be like. And I started playing with it. And that's something I really recommend is if you have trouble trusting yourself, experiment with trusting yourself. Choose something for yourself and see how that goes. Because by this point, at the end of my degree, I think I had a few credits left. And I remember thinking, you know, I could do a summer course, get those credits, or there's this program where all the students get to go to New York City. And I was from a small city in Canada. And if I did that program at the end of the school year, that would finish off all the credits and I would graduate. And nobody's like telling me to do this. Nobody's like, yeah, do that. That's a good idea. Like spend all your money on that or whatever. Like nobody was saying that. But in my mind at that point, luckily I'd got to the point where I was like experimenting with trusting myself. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do it because I think that would be fun for me. Like, again, no one's saying definitely do that. No one's really giving me the okay. No one in my life is like pressuring me to do this. It's just something I think that I would like to do. And I'm going to be the one doing it. So I think I'm going to try this out. I did. I came to New York City on that school trip. I think it was like 3 weeks or a month or something. And I just fell in love with New York. You know, I was sneaking off all the time to go to comedy shows. I met Diane Keaton at a book signing. I had just planned all these fun things. And it really just changed my whole perception of reality because I had all this freedom all of a sudden in one of the most exciting cities in the world where I could just go and discover and do anything and meet anybody and see all these things that I dreamed about in person. And it was like, wow, this is so exciting. And it doesn't mean anything to anybody but me. You know, like all these experiences are just happening to me in my life. They're just enriching me. They're just things that I'm, you know, living. And I'll tell people the stories later, but they won't even know really what that really was like or what that really felt like. You know what I mean? And you know, the color of Diane Keaton's eyes, you know, like these little things that like really lit up my soul and my world. And so that really helped me learn what it's really like to trust yourself because it's not about anybody else, you know, it's about really building this skill of like, you know, I'm going to take this chance because I think it's a good idea. And then I'm going to see how that plays out. And you will find that when you trust yourself, when you have that idea and you trust it, you have this inkling or this feeling about something and you trust it, or you know, have this inspiration and you trust that, like, wow, the things that can happen are so rewarding for you because you know it would have been so easy for you not to do that. It would have been so easy for you not to listen to that because the world wasn't telling you to do that. But when you do and you see what happens, that's what builds self-trust. That's how you learn to trust yourself. And so I kept doing this even after I came back from New York. You know, I was, you know, okay, there's the pressure to get a job. And out west in a small town called Banff, where my aunt luckily let me live with her for a little bit. I got a job in a gem store, which was like pretty cool, selling all these different rocks and gems. That was the name of the store. And I felt like, okay, I have a degree. I'm selling rocks, literally. Again, you come to those feelings of, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Is this really what the world is telling me to do? And again, I had this feeling like, okay, what do I want to do? And again, it wasn't about my ultimate purpose. It was just like, what's the next step? I was good at writing. I had an English degree. I wrote to a local paper. I had never written an article before, but I knew I was a good writer. And I just asked them, like, can I write articles for you? I have a degree, feeling pretty good about my education. And they said yes. And I remember I went home for Christmas, and by the time I was flying home, I had an assignment to interview certain people about real estate. It was like I was given an article assignment about real estate. That again just came from an idea I had, and it wasn't what the world was telling me. It wasn't what anyone was telling me to do. And nobody told me, try this, do this, maybe you should do this. You know how people do that. No one did that. I thought of it, and luckily I had enough self-trust at that point that I listened to it. So there I was. I started writing articles. I was getting paid for that. Pretty cool. That snowballed into writing more and more, and then I'm a freelance journalist all of a sudden. Then I'm going to journalism school, and things, you don't know where things are going to take you. Even in journalism school, I didn't know what kind of journalist am I going to be? I didn't know, but I knew the blueprint was ultimately inside of me. It's just like I was still uncovering more and more. That led to me doing an internship at Elle Canada in Toronto, my ultimate dream job within journalism. I'm in the office, sitting at that desk. I realized I do not want to work here. Okay, I guess journalism's not really my ultimate thing, like maybe I thought it might be. That's when I do my first comedy class, because I realized, again, it's like, I have to trust myself. What do I want to do with my life? What am I interested in? Even if I do one tiny thing, it's going to be more than not doing it at all, So it's like, what I've always done is just, really being willing to listen to the crazy ideas that might feel crazy at first inside of you. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this, or I can't believe I'm doing that. But where is it coming from? It's coming from me. And if it's coming from you, like, that's your soul speaking to you. So it might not make sense to your mind. It might not make sense to other people. People might not be cheering you on, like, woo, yeah, good idea. Like, I don't think I told anybody for sure that I did a stand-up comedy class, especially until after I did my first mic. And even for the first couple of years after that, I wasn't like, I'm a comedian. I was just like, it was something I was just kind of behind the scenes, maybe just, playing with. My writing skills definitely came into play there. Before you know it, now I live in New York. I do comedy. My journalism skills help me with my business every day, with comedy. Like, I can't believe how those steps were the right thing, but at a specific time. It's not like I was going to journalism school because I was going to be a newscaster. It's because I'm a comedian and I'm an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? So like, it was the right step at that time, but it wasn't my ultimate purpose. So don't ever be afraid to ask yourself that question, like, every step along the way in your life. Like, yes, I have a purpose. Yes, I have an ultimate, purpose and soul blueprint guiding me all the time. But the truth is, you're always going to be on one of those steps, and I think Oprah's a really good example of somebody who's constantly living her purpose and expanding it. Like, you can have an awareness of what you're good at and your purpose, but for her, it doesn't even mean you have to be a talk show host your whole life. It's like, you can take like what you're meant to do, that area, and expand it. So it's like, it's always about listening to what's next, and understanding the area and the identity that's true for you. how you express that. Like for me now, I know, okay, I do comedy. Even within comedy, I do this kind of comedy, and I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm this kind of entrepreneur. I'm still discovering more about both of those things, but even getting awareness of both of those things took a long time, you know? And none of that time was wasted. It's all things that still inform what I do today. And so every step along the way, you're going to be discovering not only where you're going, what your ultimate purpose is, how to trust that voice inside of you, but also what the next step is that's going to help you develop in the way that you need at that time. And what lights you up, you know, learning how to listen to that, those ideas, those crazy ideas, like me being like, maybe I'll go to New York, you know, or maybe I'll, I don't know, be a journalist, or maybe I'll, yeah, like try comedy, you know, like it's like these things just come up out of you, out of nowhere. You don't even know really where they come from. But if they're coming from within, try them out, test them out, trust them, see what happens. And even if you make a mistake, I think that it still builds trust because you understand more about what the voice of the true you really feels like, you know? Because I'm sure my inner voice told me do the internship at L, which I really wanted to do, but that wasn't ultimately what I was meant to stay in. It was like a step, you know? So I feel like the more you play with the idea of what is the voice that's, you know, that I can trust within me, like what does that sound like? What does that feel like? You know, the better everything's going to get, the more you're going to get to where you need to go faster. And yeah, so that book was really big in helping me understand that, you know, you didn't, again, have to fit in a box. You could be something that maybe you've never even heard of before. Like what I'm doing, I never could have conceived of really, especially as a real career. But I love it. And again, it's unfolding every day. So I wanted to tell you some basic truths that will help you learn to trust yourself. These are 3 basic truths that have helped me, and I know will help you, can make a big difference in helping you have self-trust. The first is understand that you have a purpose. So even if you don't know what you're doing, you still have a blueprint, you have a reason for being here. And one radical idea that really changed the way I looked at this, and I think can help you too, is like, that's what God wants for you. Like, there's something that you were created for. And like, it's like there's a desire in you, and it's God's desire too. So the things that you really desire the most, the reason you desire them so much is because they're meant for you. And that's what God wants for you too. And I think when it comes to God, I think we can get really messed up because we equate God with our parents a lot. Like when we're little, it's like we're just told there's authority, you know, parents, God. And I think when I grew up Catholic, like I was sort of under that illusion that like there's what I want and then there's what God wants. And he wants me to probably just be good and do what my parents tell me. But the truth is that I found out through working directly with the energy world is that the actual desire of your spirit, of you as a creation, is given to you. Like that is holy, that's given to you. You know, your love for whatever it is you love is like a gigantic indication of what you're here to do. You know, that's like the compass that will always lead you to where you're meant to go. And that's God's desire for you. You know, so it's not separate. Your own desires and God's desires aren't different. They're actually the same. That's actually who they come from, you know? So if you want to be like a punk rocker magician, I'm just trying to think of like a very specific thing you could do. If that is your true desire, that's God's true desire for you. You know, there's a reason why you feel that way. And so you need to listen to that because there's a bigger purpose for you to do that. And so if you have that inside of you, but you're trying to be a teacher and you're trying to like force yourself to do things you don't want to do, well, it's like, yeah, you're always going to feel off. You're always going to feel wrong. I think this is why a lot of people are unhappy. And it's not that jobs or doing things can't support you. Like I said, I was working in a rocks and gems store. It wasn't my ultimate purpose, but I made money from it. But I also was taking my purpose seriously, So like, I think as long as you're being serious about listening to the voice inside of you, there'll be things that you do along the way, to help you get there. Number 2, you are a spark of God. And what that is light. Your identity is actually positive energy only. So what lights you up is who you are. I'm going to say that again. You are a spark of God, which is light. So what lights you up is who you are. That's your real identity. So that's not what you want to do. That's who you are. And this is the whole reason I was able to finally move from Canada to New York to do comedy. The reason I've been here 4 years, like so far, is that idea. Ideas can change your life. And that idea changed my life. And I saw it just from working with energy, understanding the truth about energy, the truth about God, the truth about what's really going on around us and who we are. And I could see it and experience it. And, I work with energy visually, and I just, all of a sudden, I was just like, oh my God, all the negativity can dissolve from us. So we're light, positivity only. The things that make us feel positive, well, that's our true identity. That's who we really are. These aren't things we want. These aren't even dreams. These are our true identities. Whatever lights you up and makes you feel the highest energy possible, that's who you are. You are high energy. That's your identity. So I was like, hey, well, what makes me feel the highest energy possible? And I answered that question, and I was like, well, that's who I am. And it doesn't matter what anyone else says. That's literally the truth, that's the truth. Anything else is going to be a lie. And that's why when I do other things, I feel so crappy. I don't feel happy. I don't feel fulfilled, because that's literally like living a lie. So I think a lot of people are living a lie because they don't understand that concept of like, what makes you feel the highest energy possible? That's your identity. And that's going to be different for every person. What is that for you? That's who you are. And that's a really powerful idea that can change your life. Number 3, if you are following your light and that upsets other people, that's not for you to deal with. I think one of the reasons why we most will not trust ourselves and not listen to our soul is because of exactly that. Other people, the resistance from other people to change, or other people to who they thought you were, and now they're uncomfortable. A lot of times people resist change in you because it means that they were wrong about you. They start questioning themselves. They start feeling bad about themselves. And literally none of that is yours to deal with. So I feel like you have to learn, along with the skill of trusting yourself, experimenting with trusting yourself, seeing how that goes, you have to start learning how to let people have their reactions. That's a skill, like a skill to trusting yourself, is literally being willing to let people say what they will, do what they will. And I remember when I was living with that aunt in Banff, and before I had started doing journalism and I was just working at the rock store, I had this moment where, I was really starting to listen to myself and realizing that the more I did, the more upset she would get, the more upset other people in my family would get, my grandmother would get, my brother, whoever it was. And I almost could see, and I don't think they meant to try to hurt me or keep me small, but I could almost see that me being small, not listening to myself, being obedient, almost like kept them sort of feeling comfortable in a weird way. It's sort of strange to think about, but it's like, especially for people who, you think love you and they're your family. It's not that they don't love me, but like they might not even realize they're doing this. So even people in your life might not realize that they are comfortable with the status quo of you being a certain way, and even you betraying yourself a certain way. And they're used to you taking a certain amount of shit, or they're used to you struggling, or they're used to that identity of you, not having your shit together, and they might not ever think that they are supportive of that or they like that, but they might actually be quite comfortable with it. It might even be a thing like, you depend on me, so that makes me have this identity of being your savior. So then you break that pattern and you say, no, I'm empowered, and no, I'm making my choices, and no, I'm doing this. And so they kind of have a freak out of, well, what does that mean for me? And they don't understand. And I remember this one night, I just started saying and owning my truth more and more and trusting myself, because it kept working. When I went to New York, when I listened, like, I just kept being right all the time. And I was like, wow, I didn't know I was right about everything. I really didn't know. It's so exciting to finally find that out at the age of 28, after your whole life you're listening to everybody else first. All of a sudden you're like, wait, I actually know what I need to do. I actually have good ideas. I actually can like create things that I want, and like I know what I'm doing. Like I'm not just crazy. Like I actually have logical ideas that work in the world. Wow, like it's exciting. And so I started questioning like the way other people were treating me, because again, I could feel myself questioning. And now I had enough confidence to listen to myself, to trust myself, that I started, you know, actually outside myself questioning things and saying, I'm not really okay with that, or I don't really want to do that, or why did you say that? Or, like I started building up all this confidence through, again, self-trust, and just trusting it in the smallest ways, even, and finding out that I was right. And one night she actually said, I don't know, it's like we had this fight, and I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. Like I didn't actually do anything. Like I have to get out of here. And I actually left. I went across the river. There was a YWCA, and I booked a room for the night. And I was like, you know what? I don't have to live with you. I can listen to myself. If I want to, I can go find a place to stay. And from there, I stayed there. I felt so empowered. They were upset, but I knew that it wasn't because I was wrong. And I think before, when you don't have trust in yourself, you might do something and someone gets upset, and then you feel guilty, you feel bad. But instead I realized, no, like I'm doing the right thing for me. Why are you getting so upset? That's about you. I don't know what that is, but that's not my fault if I'm just taking care of myself. So what I'm saying is, you have to get used to people freaking out. It's not about you. It's not because you did anything. It's not because you're wrong. It's because they have something to work out in themselves. And the truth is that if you're really doing what's right for you, they are going to have to adjust, and they have a negative energy that's getting triggered. They're going to have to deal with that. And that's not for you to deal with, and I've had the same people in my family come around and be really supportive of me. It's just like, sometimes at first you don't know how people are going to react, but you can't let that stop you. You have to almost take it like a badge of honor. Like you don't have to fight with them, but I'm willing to step away, and let you have your reaction. It's not about me. I know that. All right. Those are the 3 basic truths. Here are the 3 basic steps. Okay. You've already heard me say this, but I will repeat it again. Trust yourself with the small things. Start small. If you don't trust yourself, you don't have to like move countries all of a sudden like I did, but try something small. Experiment. Like, this is kind of what I feel I want to do. I'm going to try that, and that's how you build trust with yourself. And then you're going to see how much better things go, and then you'll get more courage to try something else, something a little bigger. And then you're going to find you have all this experience where you can do something like I just told you. You can actually walk out of someone's house and say, I'm going to be fine, and you are, and it was the right thing. And I just remember how empowering that was. Number 2, separate yourself from other people, like we just talked about. Literally let them go free. You don't have to feel like it's your fault. We're all connected is the other thing. And I think another really radical, life-changing idea is everybody is connected. So when you do something that's best for you, that's actually what's best for them. And they might not know it, but that is what's best for them, because again, we're all connected. If you do what's best for you, it will be what's best for them. And I've seen this so many times, like when I've done things that I thought upset people. And I think that's, again, what keeps us from trusting ourselves, because we're like, oh, they're going to think this, or that person will think this, and blah, blah, blah. Well, it's what's best for them, even if it's not apparent at first. Like in the long run, they're going to be better for it. There's something they were doing that wasn't good for them either. When people are bad to you, it's not good for them. It's not a good habit for them to have. And so if you break free from that, they might not like it, but it's going to be good for them ultimately. And they're going to learn something that they needed to learn. So think of things that way. If you're worried about upsetting people, you not doing what's best for you is you not doing what's best for them either. You doing what's best for you is going to be what's best for them as well. You may not be able to see it, but it is the truth. And number 3, use your freedom. This is a gift. We are souls that are from the energy world. We are given free will. Don't lie to yourself and tell yourself that you don't have that you have to do it this way because everyone will get upset, because you're potentially crazy. All your ideas are crazy. No, none of that's true. Again, your ideas are probably the best thing that you could listen to, because you have this whole blueprint of why you're here. Other people getting upset may be good for them. That might be a change that they need to experience as well. It's not actually about you. And we are inherently free beings. That's our birthright. That's our nature. We thrive in freedom. That's a gift that we were all given. So you're free every day. It's a gift that you're free. You're not constrained by God to be a certain way, to do a certain thing, though there is an ultimate positive expression for your life. But I feel even with God's plan for you, there's so much flexibility. I feel like God's so understanding of our humanness and our fears or our need to rest, or, but it's like you'll always be guided to where you need to go. Even if you're going here and there, you're still going to be going toward that North Star. So your freedom is a gift that you need to embrace, to help you trust yourself, to know that, yeah, you don't need to trust yourself. Actually, you're free to do that too. You're free to not listen to anything I say, but I hope you do, because I'm sharing with you an idea of freedom. I want you to feel that freedom. I want you to choose for yourself. And that's a good thing, And I think when people go through life and they feel like, oh, I'm getting so caught up in my patterns and the way I was, and I work with a lot of people who come to me at different stages in life with my work with Energy Queen. And the truth about your energy is like, you're here, you exist right now. It literally doesn't even matter what happened, even if you had a pattern for the first 50 years of your life, that could change in one day because of your free will, because energy can change really fast, because you wake up every day and you are completely like a free agent. You can do whatever you want. You can do something different. Like me living with my aunt, I had done that for years off and on. All of a sudden I was like, no, I see something new here. I trust myself and I have this confidence. I'm going to walk out of this house. You can do things like that. I think that's what we love about movies. There are a lot of moments like that in movies where someone does something and it's like, I can't believe I did that. But you always had the power to do that. And so remember, every day when you feel stuck in a certain area of your life, remember your free will. Remember that that's given to you. And that's something that can help you learn to trust yourself, because you're free to experiment with trusting yourself. You're free to listen to the ideas of your soul. You're free to try something or not, or do something different or not. Like you're literally free. And I feel this on stage with comedy a lot too. It's like you're free. You can express yourself big, you can express yourself small, you can say this, you can say that. I think a lot of us are afraid of getting canceled for saying certain things, but the truth is, even if you get canceled, you can get another chance. Like, we're free, so I hope this whole thing gave you a big argument for why you should trust yourself, because the alternate is never finding out that you should, never finding out that that idea would have worked, and never finding out that, you were right. So I hope that this helped you. I hope that these stories helped you. And I hope that you'll remember those 3 truths, especially the 3 steps. Let's go over them really quick again. The first truth was, understand that what God wants for you is what you desire the most. You are a spark of God in the light. What lights you up is who you really are. It's your real life, your true identity. Follow that. Listen to that. Comes from the inside, the blueprint. 3, if following your light bothers other people, it's not your problem. The 3 basic steps are: trust through small ways, which builds trust, which will help you do things in a bigger way later on. 2, separate yourself from other people's reaction. We're all connected. What's best for you is best for them. And 3, use your free will. That is your gift, a gift for you. So thank you for watching and listening to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode on how to trust yourself, which I know went pretty deep into how to find your purpose and how to live that. I hope it helped you a lot. I know these ideas have really changed my life. And again, the only way they'll really change your life is if you put them into practice. So try it out. Let me know what works for you. And if you'd like to know more about working with me, please feel free to reach out. I would love to talk to you about how I can help. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.